All right, here we go. We are live right here on Philadelphia 76ers Now by Chat Sports. Chase Sr. here with you. No matter where you are, how you're tuned in, we appreciate all of you for making today's show a part of your day. And it's certainly a loaded show on tap as NBA free agency continues and Daryl Moore continues to do, well, nothing. One signing so far of Patrick Beverly, but we're going to try to remedy that situation here on today's show. Realistic trade targets, realistic free agent targets, blockbuster trades, and of course, the latest on James Harden, Tobias Harris. As it appears to me, yours truly, that the Sixers, unfortunately, going to run it back with this same roster. That's the indication that I get as of right now. To start, though, let's get that comment section going. No matter where you are, how you're tuned in, you know we're all about the audience interaction here on 76ers Now by Chat Sports. So grade the Sixers offseason so far. A, B, C, D, or F. Feel free to chime into that comment section right now. We'll start to give you some shout-outs. This is also our live poll here, so make sure you get your votes in there. So far, we have 50 votes, and this is classic Philadelphia. This is why I love y'all. A, B, C, D, or F, grading the Sixers offseason, 55% going with the D/F. We have Boombastic, Big Fat F, Rumple Foreskin, nice name. Chiming in with the question there using the hashtag Sixers. We will be answering some of your questions on today's show. Ryan Rowe also hanging out, going with a C. Carter saying F, Love, C. Philly 23, this offseason is a nightmare, man. I was talking about this with Marshall Green, host of New York Knicks Now, prior to going live here. Producer Coop is here, a couple of the new guys, Smitty, as well as Chipper. And Marshall was saying, like, this might be one of the slowest NBA offseasons so far, a few days into NBA free agency, when you talk specifically about player movement and player signings. Outside of day one, there has not been a lot of transactions throughout free agency, and the Sixers, just one of the teams that have stood pat and haven't really done anything. But some talk about Daryl Moore being out there in Utah for some summer league action, making some calls, putting feelers out there. And in a couple of days, the Las Vegas Summer League will get underway, of course, in Nevada. And that's when a lot of these executives, a lot of these agents, they start to have these discussions as far as trades go. So as for the latest Sixers news today, we did recap this earlier today, and we put together a video. If you haven't watched that, we're basically going to comb through what we discussed a little bit earlier this morning, that former Sixers minority owner and the CEO of Fanatics, Michael Rubin, held his 4th of July white party at his crib in the Hamptons. Basically, it's a who's who every year of celebrities who go there. I saw some of the videos and pictures coming out from that party this morning, and I'm like, what do I have to do to at some point attend that party? Make a lot of money, be very famous, maybe a dream come true. At some point, I can be taking down some shots and drinks and watching Drake perform and all that stuff and hang out with all these celebrities who are on hand. We're talking the likes of Leonardo DiCaprio to Ben Affleck, Jennifer Lopez, still looking very, very good despite her age. But also of note here on the channel, James Harden, Tobias Harris, Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, all there, all seen communicating, seemed to be having a really good time, and James Harden was seen specifically talking with Sixers majority owner Josh Harris. Here's that picture here. It's a one-on-one conversation. It seemed to be a cordial talk between the two, and as we covered last week on the show and continue to talk about here on the program, James Harden, disgruntled about being kept in the dark by Sixers executive and basketball operations general manager Daryl Moore about some of these contract negotiations here so far throughout free agency. And according to Adrian Wojnarowski at the time, last Thursday, he had reported that the Sixers and Daryl Moore were going to work on a trade with James Harden. But then a couple of days later, Brian Windhorst, Adrian Wojnarowski, saying that the Sixers would not mind holding on to James Harden. So we're filtering through some of the photos here. You see James Harden with Josh Harris, as we were talking about. You see James Harden posing here with Tobias Harris in this specific photo. James Harden with Michael Rubin. Michael Rubin having his arms around him. He still sits courtside at Sixers games. He had to give up his minority ownership stake because of a conflict of interest, because Fanatics is looking to get into the sports gambling business. But he remains close with Embiid, remains close with Harden. I can imagine Michael Rubin in that last photo was like, Harden, we need you. If you leave, we're pretty much screwed as far as being a team that can win 50-plus games. And then you see Embiid and Harden here posing one-on-one with the photo. And when they were operating together in that two-man game, whether it be the dribble handoff, the pick and roll, the pick and pop, they were a very elite 1-2 combination. And I saw some numbers today of James Harden finishing in crunch time. He is top 10 in field goal percentage in the last 4 minutes of games, but of course, as we know, when the playoffs come around, he always chokes in the biggest of moments. Unfortunately, Smitty here, first day here at Chat Sports, is a Celtics fan. Type F Boston, type F Smitty in the comments section right now. Can the 76ers get past the second round if they do run it back? Coop, I know you're a Mavericks fan, but you're one of our biggest NBA fans here at Chat Sports. I'm talking about a starting five here. James Harden, Tyrese Maxey, Tobias Harris, PJ Tucker, Joel Embiid. As somebody who's not involved directly with the Sixers and rooting this team on, what do you think about that starting five running it back? They won 50-plus games last year.
And they'll do it again, I think, pretty easily next year. The problem is the Sixers are just known for losing in the second round. I think it's a mental hurdle at this point. They were one game away last year from doing it.
Yeah, see, I think that's a little bit deceiving, though, because Harden wins Game 1 by himself, 45 points.
Game 4.
Hits that game winner. Then he drops 41 in Game 4, hits another game winner. That was the first time in 10 tries up until Game 1 that he actually hit a shot in that situation in a playoff game. So if you take those close wins away, the Celtics probably win in 6, and they win it pretty easily. Now, on the other side of that, the Sixers did have an opportunity to close Boston out in Game 6. They were up with under 4 minutes to go, and then Jason Tatum went nuclear, and we know what happened in Game 7, a listless effort from Philadelphia. I'm seeing a lot of ends in the chat right now as far as whether or not the Sixers can get past the second round if they do run it back. We're talking about a team here that has not advanced past the second round since 2001. At that point, I was 9 years old. I'm 31 now. So like all of you, I've dealt with all the heartbreaks. And then there's this from Daryl Moore that I want to get to as part of our audience build-up here. I don't think that the Sixers are going to trade away Tobias Harris, especially when Daryl Moore tweets this out. He @s Tobias Harris on Twitter, and after Toby last week said casual Sixers fans, they would trade me for a crumble cookie, Moore tweets out @Tobias Harris, had to check out the first crumble cookie store. Don't worry, Tobias, no casual fans in sight here. And then Coop is going to pop up the photo. If Daryl Moore were to @Toby and then trade him, it's a pretty fraudulent move, right? And I just don't think Daryl Moore has it in him to be seen in that manner where he's going to publicly have a display of confidence for Tobias Harris and then turn around and kind of screw him over.
Morey has his boys. James Harden is boy number 1. I think Tobias Harris is his homie number 2. I feel like they're so tight and the way they operate there in Philadelphia that he just doesn't want to trade his homies.
Yeah. Daryl Moore's outfits always crack me up.
His outfits are hilarious. And what is going on with his Twitter name? Like, why do we need emojis in our Twitter name, Daryl? We're like 60 years old. What are we doing?
Well, he's an analytical guy, so he clearly overthinks everything. We do want to do a Super Chat giveaway on today's show. Here's the deal. You can get this 76ers t-shirt shorts combo if we get to $100 in total Super Chats today. Now, I was drinking yesterday for the 4th of July. I'm still a little bit hungover. Trizzy Trace, him and his family put on an awesome showing for the 4th of July. Fireworks display in Melissa, Texas. He was giving me some whiskey to take down as we were watching those fireworks. Some woman actually got drilled in the head by a firework. She's okay. It's all good. But I don't really feel like drinking today. But we can do a giveaway. If we get to $100 in total Super Chats, we will pick a giveaway winner, and we will send you this Sixers t-shirt shorts combo. Better look at it. It is available. Was $60 on Fanatics. Now available for $33. But you can get it if you send us in a Super Chat, and if we combine to get over $100 in Super Chat donations on today's show. If you're interested in this t-shirt shorts combo, you can find it chatsports.com/76ers combo. No donations in yet, but if you like the show, you want to send us in a tip, it's that rectangular box with the $sign through it. All right, if you're ready to start today's show, a little bit of a different flow on this audience build-up. Just wanted to get you caught up on all of the latest Sixers news with what we talked about and unpacked earlier today. Then hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. I'm jacked up to talk about the Sixers here. I understand it's been a lame, lackluster, and boring offseason thus far, but I think Daryl Moore might have something up his sleeve, right? You have to imagine he's going to at least do something outside of Patrick Beverly. By the way, restricted free agency tenders and tags. That deadline's tonight, correct? Tomorrow, 12 p.m. Eastern. So we have to imagine that Paul Reed is going to get that tag, and the Sixers are going to try to bring him back. So if that does happen, we'll talk about that tomorrow. So if you're ready to start the show, hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. Now, I try to tell my bosses here at Chat Sports that even though I'm a Philadelphia sports fan, I'm from Philly, we're not bad people. We're just really passionate. I need you to be passionate right now in hitting that thumbs up icon and liking the video. For instance, we have 165 people watching live. That audience going to continue to increase. We only have 24 likes, though. Show the bosses here that Philadelphia fans are not all talk. We have a Celtics fan in attendance here as well. Show him that we can really bring the heat despite Boston being Philadelphia's daddy. Hit that thumbs up icon, like the video if you're ready to start today's show. And with that, let's dive into some Sixers talk right now. You're watching Philadelphia 76ers Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Appreciate all of you for being here with us. We have a loaded show on the docket for today, taking a look at some realistic and affordable free agent targets for the Sixers here, as well as some trade targets to bulk up this roster. Before we dive into that, though, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We just yesterday surpassed 11,000 subscribers. As a guy who grew up in the Philadelphia area, it's been an incredible honor to grow this channel and host shows here on a near daily basis, especially during the heightened moments of this offseason. Let's continue to grow the Sixers Now empire by hitting that sub button. And if you're looking for entertaining, informative, insightful Sixers coverage year-round, not just during the offseason, we have you covered here. Realistic free agent target number one. It's a guy who the Sixers, I think, are going to bring back in Bball Paul, out the mud, Paul Reed. His growth over the last couple of years has been impressive, and if you go back and watch what he did at the Paul, he was long, he was wiry, he was athletic. Even at the G League level, he was that too, and started to have some signs of growth when he was playing for the G League, Delaware Bluecoats, and putting up a lot of numbers, but the game seemed to move too fast for him in the infancy of his NBA career. But as he's gotten a little bit older and with more playing time, he's become a much more seasoned player. And because the game has slowed down, he's been able to show his tenacity, his aggressiveness, and his overall versatility on both ends of the floor. I thought there was a moment of growth for him against the Celtics in Game 1 when Boston intentionally fouled him. He steps up to the free throw line and hits a couple of big free throws, and as evidenced by the numbers that we just showed you, with more playing time has come a little bit more production. This past year, playing 69 games, he was actually a part of Glenn Rivers' rotation. New rule here on the show, no longer calling Doc Rivers Doc Rivers. He now goes by Glenn Rivers. The only Doc in the history of the Sixers organization now can be referred to as Dr. J. So Bball Paul last year, 4 points, nearly 4 boards, 11 minutes per game. But I've seen Nick Nurse develop a lot of quality bigs while he's been the coach for the Toronto Raptors. We're talking Precious Achiuwa, Chris Boucher, the list goes on and on and on. He's done a great job of developing players in general. I think Paul Reed could be the beneficiary of that. Realistic free agent target number 2, a player who I'm intrigued by, who already got paid a couple of years ago, didn't necessarily live up to those contractual obligations or expectations in Kelly Oubre Jr., but I think coming in off the bench, he'd be able to give you a little bit of an athletic edge and a scoring punch on that second unit that you currently don't have at that wing spot. You bring in Patrick Beverly, I think he adds much needed toughness to this team that's been an enabling organization since the process. You saw that PJ Tucker was able to bring the best out of a guy like Joel Embiid. Now you bring in Patrick Beverly into the equation. You have 2 back alley dogs, and I think Beverly does help this rotation coming off the pine. Kelly Oubre Jr. last year for a bad Hornets team, 20 points per game, 43% from the field, a paltry 32% from three-point range. Has to improve on that, but because of some of those struggles and the lack of consistency and him being injured last year, I think his value is low. I think he could be in line for about a 1-year contract, a prove-it deal, and because he'd be motivated by that with limited playing time, I think that he could give the Sixers some solid production coming off the bench and some much-needed athleticism at that wing spot, which is what they have really lacked coming off the bench with some of those reserves over the last couple of years because they've been so cash-strapped. So with that, let's ask you this. This will be our pinned comment on today's show, so make sure you get your votes in. Your top remaining realistic free agent target, let me know. Drop a name in the comment section. We always appreciate your feedback. Now to the front court. Let's talk about JaMychal Green here. We talked about Paul Reed in that front court just moments ago. JaMychal Green, I liked the signing for the Golden State Warriors last year, but he ended up not really playing all that much. Now, in the second-round series against the Los Angeles Lakers, Steve Kerr actually started him for a couple of games because the Warriors were desperate for size against the taller and more athletic Los Angeles Lakers. And he had a couple of threes. You look at his tallies from a year ago, 6.5 points per game, 3.5 rebounds, 54% shooting from the field, almost 38% from three-point range. And I've said this a couple of times here on the show. I'm tired of watching the corpse of DeAndre Jordan, Greg Monroe, Dwayne Dedmon backing up Joel Embiid. I think a point of emphasis for this team, considering that Embiid has been injured a lot throughout his career, is being able to fortify the backup center role. And if JaMychal Green can play 10 to 12 minutes, that's better than the 10 to 12 minutes that used to go to guys like DeAndre Jordan. And you look at the Sixers' current lineup right now, if they do run it back, the starting five's fine. You'll win more than 50 games. You have Patrick Beverly. You have DeAnthony Melton. Daniel House showed me something coming in off the bench against that Celtics team. But outside of that, a lot of bench questions, and that's why these players become very, very important and integral to the Sixers' rotation. And with that, that's a perfect segue here to Christian Wood. And Coop, I'll bring you on because you're a big Mavericks fan, and I think it's odd how Christian Wood always has production. He brings you value as a big who can stretch the floor, play make, and knock down some threes, yet you're telling me that you think that he might be a vet min guy after he signed a somewhat lofty contract with the Rockets a couple of years ago. Now, we don't have definitive inside sources that say that he's kind of a cultural cancer. We know he's an awful defensive player, but it seems as though everywhere he goes, people question who he is as a guy and some of these cultural concerns. But you look at the numbers here as you get yourself ready to come on, Coop. 16.5 points per game, 7 rebounds, almost 38% from three for a guy who's damn near 7 feet tall. Why doesn't he have more value on the free agency market? And why could a guy like this go for a vet min deal?
I think it simply has to do with his defense. He just doesn't provide anything on that end, no matter how efficient of a scorer he is. He's just that much worse defensively. I mean, he was a complete black hole there, and it's a reason the Mavericks couldn't start him. They would have loved for him to be their starting five, but Jason Kidd just didn't trust him on that end to get the job done. And as the season went on, his minutes went down, and that's kind of why the Mavericks already said that they're just not going to bring him back in free agency.
Yeah, and Dallas kind of whipped at that 5 spot last offseason. They brought in JaVale McGee, they brought in Christian Wood via the trade, and both of those moves did not work at all, and that's why now they have an overload of centers in that front court. Coming up around the corner, some realistic trade targets that the Sixers could look to bring in. First, though, feel free to interact with me on Twitter and Instagram. It's the same handle on both platforms here, at Chase_Senior. I've had so many of you over the last couple of weeks who are new to the show. Introduce yourselves. Don't be a stranger. Slide in the DMs. Say what's up. Let's talk some Sixers. Realistic trade targets. Let's start with Royce O'Neale, kind of a wing type of player who can get to the cup on some dribble drives. He can knock down some threes. He's a veteran who does have a lot of playoff experience. He's also consistently available. Last 4 years, games played 76, 77, 71, and 71. Last year playing with the Brooklyn Nets, he's played with the Utah Jazz before. This is the type of bench production that I'm desperate for on a very affordable contract. Like about 9 points per game, 5 rebounds, active, and a guy who can hover around that three-point arc, maybe be a replacement for like a PJ Tucker, but with more offense, shoot around 39% from three-point range. I think he could be had for cheap. The same might be able to be said for Kelly Olynyk. A couple of years ago, against the Washington Wizards while he was playing with the Boston Celtics, right, Smitty? He goes off in that Game 7. He's popping 3 after 3. And I like him as a guy who can back up Embiid because, like, Embiid has never had a backup behind him or a 4 who could play alongside him who can consistently hit three-point shots, provide some floor spacing, and negate some of the double teams that inevitably go Joel Embiid's way. Now, Al Horford was brought in a few years ago, and that was an unmitigated disaster. That's why Daryl Moore had to move off that contract. He did. But I think that Olynyk, stylistically, obviously, a little bit better than Al Horford offensively. Not the same defensive player, but Olynyk as a backup five who can knock down some threes, and the offense can kind of run through him from time to time out of the post. 12.5 points per game last year, 6 rebounds, almost 50% from the floor, 39% from three-point range. Give me Kelly Olynyk all day. I love that high-leverage playoff experience as well. Jea'Sean Tate, Houston Rockets, a player who's kind of fallen out of the rotation a little bit. Interesting career for him. Didn't enter the NBA until he was about 25 years old. But what the Rockets have done over the last couple of off seasons, via free agency, via the draft, by the way, insane to be paying Fred VanVleet more than $40 million per year, Dylan Brooks getting $20 million, $80 million total. That's just nuts. But I think they're trying to bring in some rugged players, some culture changers, and that's why they brought in those two aforementioned players. But Jea'Sean Tate, because of the draft picks that have been brought in, rags to riches story, I would like him as an option who could also be traded for cheap. 9 points per game last year, but the previous 2 seasons hovering around that 11, 12-point threshold, and he doesn't really shoot the three-pointer. He's actually awful, really, and has some fear in taking the three-point shot, but can distribute the basketball a little bit and can get that offense moving, especially on that fast break. Jea'Sean Tate rounding out the list of affordable trade targets for Philadelphia here, considering they're a little bit tight on cash. So up to this point, summer school. Here we are right after the 4th of July, and the Sixers have made one move in free agency, Patrick Beverly. So with that, grade the Sixers roster right now. A, B, C, D, or F, let me know. If you want to get on the show, use the hashtag Sixers, segment 1 in the canister. We'll move on to segment 2 here in just a little while. But if you want to get featured on the program here, would love to take your questions, your hot takes, your comments, whatever you have for me. Send it my way. But you see all the comments that come in. For producer Coop to filter through all of those, use the hashtag Sixers to make his job a little bit easier. And with 250 people watching live right now, let's get to 100 likes as soon as possible. We are 43 away. And if we get to $100 in total super chats on the show today, we will pick a giveaway winner for the Sixers t-shirt shorts combo. So $100 in total super chats. Everybody can come together, and then we'll have a raffle of sorts, only if we get to $100 in total super chats. Therefore, we have a grouping of people that we can pick. Or if you're a big baller out there who wants to send us in a $100 donation, that could be yours right away if nobody else sends in a super chat. Once again, another reminder, get on the program here. Would love to talk some Sixers with you. Hashtag Sixers or super chat to get on the show here. Ryan Rowe, for instance, using the hashtag NBA, but I'll still give you a shout, my brother. Can we afford Kelly Oubre Jr. and Christian Wood, adding more value defensively and evaluating talent of the great backup center to provide shooting and athleticism? Yeah, look, so with Kelly Oubre Jr., he'd be a free agency signing. And then with Christian Wood, a free agency signing as well. If Christian Wood takes a vet min, maybe you give Kelly Oubre Jr. a little bit more money, but that's how you can kind of construct bringing potentially both of those guys in. Iron Mizzle, the legend, Kelly Oubre Jr. would be our best bet. Also, wouldn't be surprised if Nurse eventually ran Bball Paul at the 4 and PJ and Pat coming off the bench. I wouldn't be surprised by that either. What's interesting is that Paul Reed, when he played at the G League level and was like the G League MVP there for a stretch, he had a 3 to his game. Now, that hasn't translated to the NBA level, but can you bulk up his confidence enough where he's willing to take that three-point shot? Because him next to Joel Embiid is an athletic lineup combination that gives you some lineup versatility that I would actually like. Tim Starr, I see you in the chat as well. Nah, we're broke since we signed Harden. We don't even have the league exception anymore. Yes, like I said, a little bit tight on the dough. Coming up next, segment number 2, we are going to take a look at some blockbuster trades. I actually don't think it ended up being 5, Coop. If you just want to take that out, just take a look at some blockbuster trades that the 76ers can make to land another superstar. In the meantime, Boombastic, Mr. Boombastic. Anyone who knows anyone working out for the Sixers, please tell the coaching staff to teach Embiid how to play like a real big, make him stop playing like a wannabe Steph Curry. I mean, it wasn't a wannabe Steph Curry. That's being, that's reaching a little bit. The guy was runner-up for MVP 2 consecutive seasons before winning it last year. I had said last year, like, Embiid is the league's MVP, and then we saw what Jokic did in the playoffs with, 15 triple-doubles, and I now have to say that I was wrong. I'll eat the crow on that. Joker deserved to win MVP. I think that Embiid's usage in Doc's offense, sometimes he was brought out to the high post around the three-point line for some of the dribble handoff actions.
Can't call him Doc.
That were a part, yes, good call, that were a part of Doc Rivers' offensive system. Fuck, I got to stop doing that. No longer calling Doc Rivers Doc. I said it a couple more times. It's ingrained in my brain. It has to be Glenn Rivers. There's only one Doc in the history of the Sixers. It's Dr. Julius Erving. It's not Doc Rivers, the playoff choke artist. All right? Glenn Rivers, Glenn Rivers, Glenn Rivers. If I say it again, yell at me, please. Not Doc Rivers, Glenn Rivers. Gosh, I'm still bitter. All right, coming up next here, blockbuster trades the Sixers can make to land another superstar. That's coming up right now. 250 people watching live, 65 likes. By the time I'm done this segment, can we get to 100 likes? Hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. On the docket for today's Philadelphia 76ers now, I cooked up a couple of blockbuster trade ideas the Sixers can make to land another superstar. Now, a lot of you out there might be saying, well, Chase, they don't have the money to bring on a superstar. Well, yes, they do, as the counter argument to that, if they traded away Tobias Harris and or James Harden. So, we'll set the table here with the 76ers trade assets via the draft and with some cash, but also take a look at their player assets as well. They have their own first-round pick in 2030, according to Bobby Marks, ESPN front office insider. First-round pick swaps in 24, 29, and 30. They have 3 future second-round picks, and they have $7.1 million in cash that they can include in a trade or get back in a trade. So those are the Sixers' cash and draft assets here. As for the Sixers' player assets, players who could be of value and of interest to other teams out there. Tyrese Maxey, one of the best young trade chips across the NBA. James Harden asked for a trade. Tobias Harris on the final year of his deal. For a lot of teams across the NBA, I think he's a walking 20 points per game, 45% from the field, and 40% from three. He's just a clunky fit on the Sixers roster. DeAnthony Melton, a very good reserve guard, and P.J. Tucker, the ultimate bulldog, very good defender still at this point of his NBA career, and if he's hitting that corner three, adds to his value. Now, if a Sixers trade does happen, I guarantee you this, regardless of where I am, we're going to be talking about it here on the show. Whether it be a regular video or going live, that's why you subscribe. Sixers blockbuster trade candidate numero uno. Let's begin here with the name that's been centered in a lot of these trade discussions, Damian Lillard of the Portland Trail Blazers. Last week, right at the start of NBA free agency, he did inform the Trail Blazers that he has requested a trade. And this is the trade idea that I put together that I think could appease Portland. And I think that if Daryl Moore would have put Tyrese Maxey in a deal for Dame, he might already be a 76er right now. So Tyrese Maxey has to be in the deal to get Dame. Tobias Harris is going to go in there as well, just because you have to make the money work with how large Dame's contract is. And then you also include a 2030 first-round pick. I think Maxey is the player who gets it done. Tobias Harris on an expiring deal, playing alongside Scoot Henderson, Anthony Simons, and Shaedon Sharpe, gives you a solid wing scorer who I think could assume a large role there, and you get some draft capital. If you want to put in a pick swap in there as well, you could probably add that to the equation depending on how much you want Lillard. The thing with Dame, dude's an all-time bucket getter. He's been getting it done for a really, really long time. I do have some concerns about how an older guard at his size ages, because previous history shows you that at some point soon, Dame is going to start to break down, especially with all the mileage and tread on the tires and his usage rate and how much he's depended on to put the biscuit in the basket. But last year, one of his best seasons in scoring the rock, a career-high 32 points per game, 7 assists, 46% from the field, 37% from three-point range. Year before that, he was banged up. But Dame is a high-leverage baller who's not afraid to rise up in the biggest of moments when the lights are the brightest, when the pressure cooker is popping, and give you a big bucket. The Trailblazers haven't made deep playoff runs because Damian Lillard's a bad player, because he doesn't show up in the playoffs like James Harden. He always shows up, and he always seizes the moment. That's more of a byproduct of the surrounding core not being that good around Dame. But if you give up Maxey, who I think is a blossoming superstar, borderline all-star potential, who's only 23 years old, for Dame, who's older, and you look at the contract here, that's when it gets a little bit risky, but that's the type of deal it requires to pair Damian Lillard alongside Joel Embiid. And that 1-2 punch, it would be very good, but would you take the Sixers with depleted depth over a team like the Celtics, Milwaukee Bucks, or Miami Heat? Would still be a very difficult playoff series. So who wins the trade here? Let me know. PHI for Philly, POR for that organization in the Pacific Northwest. Feel free to also sound off with what you think down in the comment section. Blockbuster trade target number 2, Zach LaVine. Some loose reports that the Bulls are taking calls on LaVine and that the Sixers have potentially inquired about his services. The Sixers, I do believe, have some assets that could be of note for Chicago here. So this is my trade idea number 2, where the Sixers only get back Zach LaVine. The Bulls, on the other hand, get Tobias Harris, who can give you around the same scoring production as LaVine, but doesn't demand the ball as much, which might free up some of the other players on that roster, like DeMar DeRozan, Kobe White, who they re-signed, Javon Carter, and Nikola Vucevic. You get DeAnthony Melton. Both of these contracts are expiring. So for Chicago, they're in this precarious spot right now. They're kind of in that middle tier, mediocrity, floating in there at the NBA level. So if they're not good to start the year and they want to tear everything down, you're looking at an expiring for Toby, expiring for Melton, and an expiring for DeMar DeRozan, and then they have a bunch of cap space they can use or draft capital that they could try to accumulate to start this rebuilding process a little bit. I also throw in that 2030 first-round pick. And for LaVine, best season definitely came in 2020, 2021. I also have concerns that he's played in like 4 playoff games, I believe, in his career, or at least over the last several years. But he is one of the better scorers who's just a raw bucket getter in the NBA, who has the athleticism to really rise up and get a shot from anywhere. And sometimes the offensive game comes so seamlessly for him where he can just give you easily 25 points per game per night and shoot around 47 to 50% from the field and be a pretty efficient three-point shooter as well. I also put together these advanced shooting numbers for Zach LaVine, which does tell a pretty solid story. Catch and shoot threes. He's at about 41.5% on pull-up threes, oddly enough, because I like the dribble drive to his game. He's only shooting 34% on some of those pull-up three-pointers. 10 feet and into the rim, though, very good. That's because he has pogo sticks for legs, hyper jumper, hyper athlete who can finish amongst the trees in traffic, twirl his body, very good body control, throw down some yams as well. Almost 63% on that field goal percentage from 10 feet in. Overall ranking in the NBA, all these categories combined, checking in the top 10. Now, let me know what you think about these trade ideas. Let me know what you think about Daryl Moore basically doing nothing throughout this offseason, what you think of this organization. But also, I cover the NFL here at Chat Sports. If you're an Eagles fan, I talk Eagles every single day. Really big into health, wellness, and fitness and all that stuff. So don't be a stranger. Slide in the DMs at Chase_Senior on Twitter and Instagram. Let's go to this last one. It's going to cause a stir. Zion Williamson. When a guy like JJ Redick has said that Zion doesn't like to hang out at the facility, he worries about his devotion to his craft, him trying to stay in shape, and the overall cultural impact or lack thereof that Zion has had, I get a little bit of a concern when it comes to Zion. And the fact that he's missed so many games is definitely a problem. It doesn't help when Mariah Mills is putting him on blast on Twitter. But Zion Williamson, you're banking this solely on potential. And can he finally stay healthy? Can he be a 4 alongside Joel Embiid and be that guy that everybody thought he was going to be coming out of Duke, although I had major concerns about him just because of the girth to his body. I know a lot of you like that word, pause, and just the overall weight that's on his frame, given the style that he plays with. And if he doesn't eat right, if he doesn't take care of his body, given the reckless abandon in which he plays with, his body, I had concerns that it would not be able to hold up. So far, so good, right, on that prediction. But here's my trade idea. Zion and Dyson Daniels, pretty good defender, athletic guy who was drafted in the first round 2 years ago out of the G League. And then the Pelicans get Tobias Harris, a 2030 first-round pick, and that 2024 first-round pick swap. Like, I don't know how high Zion's value is when you look at all the time that he's missed. Career stats so far, he plays in 24 games as a rookie. The production was awesome. And then in 2020, 2021, 61 games played. Did not play 2 years ago. And this past year, only 29 games played. And when the Pelicans are playing in the NBA play-in tournament, I thought he had a chance to play. He sat out. At some point, you got to be tough, right? You have to be able to give it a go. And to be so precautionary with some of these injuries, like, homie, you got to get on the damn floor to tell your teammates that you actually care about the game of basketball and put in that work to just have better physique and to be in better shape, because when you're on the deck and playing, you can be a high-impact player on both ends of the floor. So 3 blockbuster trade ideas right there. You have Dame, Zach LaVine, Zion Williamson. Let me know which trades you like the best, but most importantly, the question here on your screen, pick a star that you want the most. Is it Dame, LaVine, Zion Williamson? Feel free to let me know down in the comment section here. And obviously, blockbuster trade ideas. These would be monster splashes that Daryl Moore would have to maneuver here, but certainly fun to talk about at this point of the offseason. And if the Sixers do make a move, you know we're going to cover it right here on the program. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Sixers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 subscribe. All right, let's take a look at the comment section here. Tim Starr, I just saw your comment. Give me LaVine and keep Maxey. That'd be a win. Yeah, like that's a good, you get LaVine and you keep Maxey. Whereas with Dame, you lose Maxey, but get Dame. I'd rather have LaVine and Maxey than just Dame. That's just me. Chipper, what do you think? Would you rather have just Dame, or would you have LaVine and Maxey? LaVine and Maxey. Yeah, I don't want to give up on Maxey either. Dude is Philadelphia's young hero. So, hashtag Sixers or Super Chat to get on the show. It's great to have a fellow Philadelphia fan in the office now as well. Oh, we'll be talking birds. Super Chat giveaway. If we get to $100 in total Super Chats, we will pick a giveaway winner here for the Sixers t-shirt and shorts combo. What that means is you get the t-shirt and the shorts together. But we have to get to $100 in total Super Chats first. Nobody has sent in a donation yet, but it's all good. We haven't really been pushing that outside of assigning a giveaway winner here. But if we get to $100 total in donations, we will do a Super Chat giveaway. 2 segments left. We're going to talk Pascal Siakam. We're going to talk about how Glenn Rivers helped recruit Patrick Beverly to Philadelphia. And then we'll try to take some of your questions for a mailbag to round out today's live show as well. But let's do this. We're not going to start this third segment until we get to 100 likes. We have 89 right now with 261 people watching live. So I'm going to throw up the timer here. In 1 minute, can we get 10 more people now to like the video to get us to 100 likes? We're at 90. With this many people watching live, it should be very easy to do that. Now we're down to 8. We're 20 seconds in. Smash that thumbs up icon, like the video, and as Philadelphia always does, you show up, you represent 100 likes in the span of 25 seconds right there. Good work. Let's do this. I'll shotgun a beer for a $50 Super Chat. If anybody wants to send one of those in, we'll get the party popping here on this fine Wednesday. So like I said, coming up next on the show, Pascal Siakam, Glenn Rivers. That's coming up next on 76ers Now Live. Ready to get into it on today's Philadelphia 76ers Now by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Sr. Could the Sixers trade for Pascal Siakam? According to a Canada sports network that covers the Toronto Raptors, Siakam could be moved at some point prior to the start of the regular season or even earlier. And how about this? Glenn Rivers helped bring Patrick Beverly to Philadelphia even though Glenn got fired by the Sixers. Does it sound weird that I said Glenn Rivers? New rule here on the show. I cannot say Doc Rivers any longer, and I won't. Why? He's a playoff choke artist, and there's only one Doc in the history of the Sixers organization that I want to remember, and that's Dr. J. Julius Erving. Let's begin here with Pascal Siakam. Sportsnet in Toronto saying there's a lot of speculation from one of the Raptors beat guys that Pascal Siakam could be dealt soon. And could he then reunite with his former head coach in Nick Nurse, who really streamlined his development alongside Masai Ujiri, one of the best basketball executives in the sport. So Sportsnet on Siakam here. There is persistent speculation that Pascal Siakam, the team's leading scorer, second most prolific playmaker, and ultimate homegrown success story, could be traded before the regular season starts and perhaps much sooner as the NBA's transaction market simmers. Now, the strengths of Siakam's game, pretty interesting story for him. Masai Ujiri went to Cameroon, discovered him, then he went to New Mexico State and ends up putting up some really good numbers there. And then Masai Ujiri's like, this guy can really play. They take a chance on him, and what a developmental story he's been. Him and Joel Embiid, by the way, both from Cameroon, representing that country. And the strengths of Siakam, switchable and pesky defender. The Sixers know firsthand in some of those playoff matchups against Toronto that when Pascal Siakam defends them, he is so long and switchable and athletic that he's really difficult to get by. That long athleticism, I think, helps him be a pest against some of the top wings in the NBA, but he can guard some guards, but he can also hold his weight against some other bigs as well. That familiarity with Nick Nurse, I think, is important here if the Sixers were to show some interest, just because Nick Nurse is familiar with them, knows how to use them on both ends of the floor. It's kind of a chess piece on defense and on offense. Impressive developmental story. What this tells me, he has a level of dedication to the game of basketball where he started off as such a raw prospect. And look at him in college. Look at him during his upbringing. Like, he looked like a baby gazelle trying to play the game of basketball. And then over time, he's been able to stay in the lab, improve upon his craft. He's basically the antithesis to Ben Simmons, who was content with being good, never wanted to tap into his greatness. He had greatness potential, but he was like, you know what, I got the bag, made an all-NBA team, all-NBA defense. I'm cool with that. Siakam, on the other hand, is like, I want to get better. And how about the growth that we've seen here from the start of his NBA career up until this point? And then these numbers, obviously, his last 4 years. And last year, year before that, the three-point numbers have suffered a little bit. But in 2019-2020, almost 36% from three, 23 points per game, 7 rebounds, 45% from the field. Is there any way that Pascal Siakam can get back to that level of offensive production? Because he's going to be able to score the rock. More than 20 points per game in each of the last 4 seasons. Pretty solid rebounder just because he's so active. And even though he struggled to find twine from distance, his field goal percentage overall has been pretty good. 45.3, 45.5, 49.4, and 48% over the last 4 years. I think that this is a pretty intriguing trade target here for Philadelphia. Now, there was some chatter about him telling the Toronto Raptors that if they were to trade him, he would not sign a contract extension with the acquiring team because he wants to stay with the organization that identified him, took a chance on him, and helped develop him throughout his career. But could teaming back up with Nick Nurse maybe change that to a certain degree? And could you trade an expiring contract for Tobias Harris for an expiring contract of Pascal Siakam? Now, if a move does happen, you know we're going to cover it here on Philadelphia 76ers. Now, our coverage, really since the Sixers got bounced in the playoffs by the Boston Celtics, I believe has been fantastic. You see the link down below. Even easier, just hit that subscribe button. And if you had to pick one for the iteration of the Sixers 2023-2024 team, which player would you rather have here? Is it Toby or is it Pascal Siakam? You let me know. As for Toby, how his numbers compare to Siakam's. Points production, not the same, but the fit of Siakam would certainly be interesting here. I think you could get away with playing him at the 4. PJ Tucker would be relegated, I guess, to a bench role. And then what do you do at that wing spot? I guess he could play the wing as well if you want PJ Tucker there. The lineup would certainly get interesting. I wonder if Siakam's fit would be better than Harris and if Harris would be more comfortable with another team just because with Doc Rivers as the coach, like he would stand idly in that corner. And I think that Toby is better when he has the ability to create and get downhill. Like at 6'9", he's a pretty good playmaker. He doesn't have a great handle, but it's good enough. And that mid-range touch is pretty solid. The last time, too, that Harris was on an expiring deal, it was when the Sixers traded for him. When he was playing with the Los Angeles Clippers, his numbers that year were awesome. And that's probably why Elton Brand at the time had made that trade. He was averaging more than 20 points per game, 50% from the field, and like 43, 44% from three-point range. Can him being on an expiring deal spark this level of him being an assassin? Can Nick Nurse maximize Toby as a player? What Jaden Springer said the other day about his first practice with Nick Nurse, he said, look, Nurse was pointing out all these tendencies and telling us all of these intricacies to the game, all this fundamental stuff that I haven't heard of since I entered the NBA. That is kind of an indirect shot, not intentional, at Glenn Rivers. So I'm hoping that Nick Nurse, who's a better coach than Glenn Rivers, will be able to help some of these players develop. It's tough to say Glenn Rivers and not Doc. Make sure you subscribe to the show. Join the 76ers Now movement here at Chat Sports. We appreciate your support. It wouldn't be possible without all of you. And the more subscribers that we get, more videos that you get right here on the channel. How about this? Glenn Rivers helped recruit Patrick Beverly to Philadelphia even after he got canned by Daryl Moore. Pat Bev said on his podcast that partners with Barstool Sports with Roan that choke artist Glenn Rivers convinced him to come to Philadelphia. And Beverly said this was the quote verbatim from Rivers. I love Philadelphia, Glenn had said. The Sixers need you. You will be great with Joel Embiid as well as James Harden. If I had you last year, we would have been a different team. Would they have been a different team? They could have used some defensive tenacity coming in off the bench. Him playing alongside PJ Tucker, I think is going to be hilarious just because of the antics that both of them bring to the floor. The NBA is going to outlaw the flopping rule, so that does affect Beverly and PJ Tucker a little bit. Beverly will be a great value signing if he can get back to the three-point numbers from 2020, 2021, because the last 2 years there's been a little bit of a dip with his stroke. 33.5% this past season, 34 before that, but the two previous years, almost 39% in 2019-20, and then 2020-2021, almost 40%. And this is a guy who you know is going to pick up cats from 94 feet. He's going to get in your face. He's so Philadelphia that it hurts. Row, 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 row. Bulldog all the way, just like PJ Tucker. But in order for him to be playable, he has to be able to knock down some of those three-point shots. I caught Coop off guard. He might have sprinkled down his leg with that dog rough right there. Do you like the Beverly signing? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. And I see some people laughing that we're calling Doc Rivers Glenn Rivers here on the show. It's just my new rule here on 76ers Now. We good on time? Cool. Subscribe to the show. Get those comments in. We appreciate it. We want to hear from all of you. That's good stuff. John Wick. I like that name. John Wick. Just found out that if Harden gets traded, he gets an extra $4 million. Yeah, Bobby Marks, Koopa told me about that. It's a trade kicker that comes in. So he gets an extra $4 million. So he probably canvassed the market and he was like, look, I'm probably not going to get $35.5 million from a different team. And if I get dealt, my agent, what do I get? An extra $4 million, James. Okay, let's request a trade. But I think that relationship between Harden and Morey can still get repaired. I don't want it to get repaired because I think the Sixers are best if they move on from Harden. But what's the package that you're going to get back? And also, when a player is also on the market who's better than Harden, in Damian Lillard, younger, more productive, better playoff performer, that kind of diminishes the value a little bit that Harden might have via the trade market. Iron Mizzle. Coop wanted to show this. I've been on that Glenn, not Doc train for almost 2 years. It's about time, Chase. Yeah, Mark Zumoff at the onset of Glenn getting hired. See, I almost did it again. He would call him Glenn Rivers. And I'm like, that sounds so foreign. It sounds so weird. But he explained, I'm only calling one guy Doc. And that's Dr. J, number 6, Julius Erving. Mr. Awesome Guy, we lit. What up, Mr. Awesome Guy? No super chats yet. I cannot believe that. Hashtag Sixers or Super Chat. We also need some questions to come in as well. We've had a couple. Iron Mizzle, I want my royalties. I like that. We'd give you your royalties, but you spelled my name wrong, homie. Chace is how you spelled it, not Chase. It's all good. I'm just messing with you. S and C kind of close on the keyboard. You can use that as an excuse. Speaking of keyboards, what's up, Tex? Get on the show. Hashtag Sixers or Super Chat. All my Philly Bulls, we want to certainly answer your questions. If we get enough questions, we will be running this mailbag tomorrow morning here on the show. Would love to chop it up with everybody. So if you have a question about the Sixers here, I know they haven't done much, but you can ask about trades. You can ask about free agent targets. You can ask about anything. Hashtag Sixers. I'm just playing with the Iron Mizzle. Get those questions in. Hashtag Sixers. How many do we have? Do we have enough? We'll be good on that. Yeah. C Block. Why don't we go and get Malik Beasley? Led the NBA in three-pointers off the bench. Signed for a vet min with Milwaukee. Look, I don't know what Daryl Moore is doing. I don't know if he has a plan. And they're kind of...
He's visiting Crumble in Logan, Utah.
Yeah, exactly. They're kind of handcuffed right now by this whole James Harden situation, as well as Tobias Harris. If they hit on a couple of those draft picks in recent years, they might not be in this spot. For instance, if they didn't trade Zaire Smith for Mikal Bridges, they would have been in an awesome spot. But unfortunately, they've had a couple of draft misses. Yes, don't remind me, Jason Tatum over Markelle Fultz. I know. Trade Brand for a Cumble Cookie from Mitch Beats. Yeah, Elton Brand, what a bad offseason for him. His alone season as GM, he gives Toby a bag, and then he keeps Brett Brown, Ben Simmons, and Harris over Jimmy Butler. Not good. Siakam and Maxey would be awesome from Mitch Beats. Yeah, I could have, dove further into that. That would have been interesting. My boy Eagles Guru, one of our Super Chat MVPs on Eagles Now. Last week you said Raptors are definitely keeping Siakam. Haha, give me credit. Yeah, at the time it looked like they were going to, but you know how fluid things are in the NBA. Eagles Guru, player empowerment era, gets a little bit wonky. By the way, we got to 100 likes. Appreciate that for everybody hitting that thumbs up icon, liking the video. Tim Starr, say we run it back and have 2 max slots next year. What 2 free agents would you sign? Tim Starr, use hashtag Sixers, and we'll get that question on the show. Coop of note. We'll get that question on the show if you use hashtag Sixers there, Tim Starr. All right, let's answer your questions here. Upcoming mailbag live on 76ers Now. Let's do it. Welcome in. What's up? What's good? You're watching 76ers Now by Chat Sports. I am your host, Chase Sr. Appreciate all of you for tapping into today's show. Want to open up the floor here. We've done a couple of live shows over the last couple of weeks, and it's been great to interact with some of our loyal subscribers who tune into our live show. So I want to chop it up with everybody, and I know that Sixers fans always have that great basketball intellect, hashtag #YouKnowBall. So let's answer some of what you had to ask me and say here on the show. You are him. Trade Tobias Harris to the Pacers. Get Buddy Hield, which is a young asset to add alongside Maxey to have a younger core and picks. So in theory, that kind of makes sense. Tobias Harris for Buddy Hield. Buddy Hield got paid a couple of years ago. Tobias Harris getting paid right now. Tobias Harris entering the final year of his deal. You need three-point shooting. Buddy Hield might be a better fit on the Sixers roster. You look at Hield's numbers last year, 45.8% from the floor and almost 43% from three-point range. Very solid numbers, 80 games, 73 starts, average almost 17 points per game. The problem is you would get drastically worse on the defensive end of the floor, and that's where Toby has a little bit of value. You give him up for Buddy Hield, we're talking about a massive step backward for the Sixers defensively because Buddy Hield, he's a swinging door. He is not good and can't defend anybody. He will launch 8.5 three-point attempts per night, and for him to connect on nearly 43% of those, which was a third-best high for him throughout his career. Pretty solid numbers there. I just don't think the Sixers do it because Nick Nurse, known to be a defensive mind, but him, I appreciate that question. Diamedes, a Levine and Williams from Bulls for Harden and Tucker would be a good trade for both clubs. Let's make this happen. So you're talking about Patrick Williams and you're talking about Zach LaVine here. I really like Patrick Williams coming out of Florida State. In year one, I thought he really flashed for me as one of those prototypical 3-and-D guys who could defend at a really high level and knock down the three. His lack of development offensively has been a little bit concerning since being the 4th overall pick back in 2020. As a rookie, he's at 9 points per game, 39% from three, 48% from the field. And then this past year, 10 points per game on twos, 50% from the floor, 41.5% from three, and 46% from the field, which is a little bit down from his rookie year. What I'm concerned about is sometimes the shot selection from Patrick Williams, which could drive Nick Nurse nuts, but he's still about to enter his age 22 season. And can you hone in some of the aggressiveness with him just letting it launch from time to time? I would like him as a player because I really do think that 3-and-D's very important. And honestly, since like Robert Covington, the Sixers really haven't had a solid 3-and-D guy, right, Jake? I mean, they've really been lacking that. So LaVine is your scorer, Williams is your 3-and-D guy, and then you get rid of that Harden deal. PJ Tucker, I think the Sixers would miss him, but you still have that dog defense from Patrick Beverly. I'd make it happen, Diamandis, but I don't know if the Bulls would. This is what I do know. We're not sure if those trades will come to fruition, but if a move does happen and come to light, we're going to talk about it here on the show. Hit that sub button and subscribe, yo. For year-round Sixers coverage here on 76ers Now. Grew up in Westchester, went to Temple. Westchester, by the way, right outside of Philadelphia. When I was growing up, I wanted tattoos and cornrows like Allen Iverson. I told my mom that. She definitively told me no, but that did not stop me from rooting on this club. And now I get to talk about it for a living. Show us some love back. Hit that sub button. We'll continue to bring the passion even through the heartbreaks. Iron Missile, one of our loyal viewers here. Kelly Oubre Jr. would be our best bet as a affordable Sixers free agent target. Also, wouldn't be surprised if Nick Nurse eventually ran Bball Paul at the 4 and PJ Tucker and Pat Bev coming in off the bench. PJ Tucker is more than capable of coming in off the bench, and frankly, that might make your offense a little bit better because last year it was odd, man. Like his prime years playing alongside Harden, he didn't really shy away from that corner three. Last year, though, passed up on a lot of open opportunities. Now, is that because he thought that the Sixers were in better hands on the offensive end with Maxey taking a shot, Harris, Harden, Embiid, because you look at their points per game production? Yeah, possibly. I think that PJ Tucker is a little bit more valuable than what people give him credit for. Everybody last year didn't understand the impact signing that he was because they only honed in on the lack of offensive numbers. He is a culture setter, exactly as Coop said in my ear, for an organization that has been soft, an organization that has been mentally fickle. And last year we saw that happen in Game 7 against the Boston Celtics. So to have guys like that, I do think is really important. And then Bball Paul at the 4 spot. So his numbers at the G League level, I want to look at him here. Playing with the Delaware Bluecoats, 2020, 2021, and then 2021, 2022. He did take some threes. 2021, 2022, 4.3 three-point attempts per game. He connected on nearly 44% of those three-point shots. So if you play him at that 4, can he give you a little bit of that floor-stretching element? He also averaged 22 points per game. Now, of course, it's the G League level. A lot of those players aren't even up to par with some of the premier players who play in the NBL. They play overseas in China, playing for, Real Madrid, like Luka Doncic used to play for right back in the day, like those types of leagues. But still, those are good numbers, and a three-point shot is a three-point shot with the distance at the NBA range. So can Paul Reed add that to his game? That would certainly add to his versatility and his value, and I do expect the Sixers to bring him back. Rumple Foreskin. Did the Sixers try to trade for Darius Garland? I heard rumors. I didn't hear anything about that, but I would be interested in Darius Garland. Garland is a very solid and still young and emerging offensive player. I think over the last couple of years, he's really come into his own. Coming out of Vanderbilt, he had some Kyrie Irving comps. We're talking about the game, not being a flat earth theorist. But Darius Garland, I like his game, and there's been a lot of growth there in his first 4 years. 12 points per game, up to 17, 21.5 over the last 2 years. Now, his home road split's a little bit concerning last year, where he was very good at home, not as good on the road, but he's one of those guards who can get a shot from anywhere. Entering his age 24 season, last year on 6 3-point attempts per night, 41% from 3. Him and Tyrese Maxey would be a really fun backcourt. Garland did average nearly 8 dimes last year, 8.5 the year before that, so he does have some really solid vision. And I think that backcourt would make a lot of sense, but who are you trading away, and who would Cleveland like to bring in? James Harden? Do they believe that he moves the needle for what is a young yet talented team? Not sure. Marshawn Lynch. I like that. If it's a play off of Marshawn Lynch, big alien guy. Clippers hesitant to include Man in a Harden trade. I still think Powell, Batum, and Covington are better than an uninterested Harden. You bring up a really, really solid point here. And right when the news broke of Harden maybe demanding that trade, I was like, well, Norm Powell can give you about 20 points per game. Batum gives you much-needed bulk and three-point shooting in the front court, has played in a bunch of high-leverage international and NBA playoff games. Rocco, you bring him back. That's your 3-and-D wing. If you include Terrence Mann, I think the Sixers might say yes, but Daryl Moore has never traded a superstar for anything less than a superstar, and he might look at that package and just say no right from the jump just because the Sixers are not getting back a superstar for a guy who led the NBA in assists last year and had a career-best assist-to-turnover ratio. Walter Miller, one of our real ones. Walter, did you get your real one shirt? Please let me know. Until Dame is traded, Harden won't be going anywhere until a great trade option opens up. Who would you like to replace Harden if he were to go? So Walter Miller, I had said this a little while ago on our live show, that Damian Lillard requesting a trade and being available for a trade diminishes the value of James Harden a little bit because teams are putting together trade packages for Dame and not James Harden. Now, on the show here, we put together a list during our live program of some blockbuster trade candidates that the Sixers could look to bring in who are of the superstar variety. Damian Lillard, Zach LaVine, Zion Williamson. Zion Williamson isn't a guy who moves the needle for me much because I think you need a wing scorer, but I threw his name in there because he's loosely been included in some of those trade talks. But Walter, I agree. I think Dame might be the first chess piece that gets moved, and then a James Harden trade might happen after that. So we just showed you those 3 players. If you were to pick a star among those 3, who are you riding with for Philadelphia? Is it Dame? Is it LaVine? Is it Zion Williamson? Once again, let me know. Thanks for joining our mailbag. Love taking questions from the audience. All right. Good to hear from Walter Miller. Yeah, Walter, let me know if you got that real one shirt. I believe we sent it a little while ago, so hit my line. Let me know if you got it. Let's take a look at the chat here.
We got a small update from Woj about the play-in tournament during our mailbag.
Okay.
So he said the Final Four is going to be December 7th and 9th in Vegas. Stats for the in-season tournament.
In-season tournament. Okay.
Will count for the regular season except for the final.
Interesting.
So I guess they're also regular season games.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense.
Makes no sense.
Why would the final not count?
I don't know.
If the play-in, or if the in-season, I guess you would say, tournament games do count. Very odd.
Makes no sense.
I don't understand that. Interesting. Yeah, I don't understand the in-season tournament either, Mr. Awesome Guy. All right, so that's 4 segments in the can. I'm going to put up a 2-minute shot clock. If anybody sends in a super chat within 2 minutes, we will stay live. And as I said a little bit earlier, if we get to $100 in total super chats, we will do a super chat giveaway of our Sixers t-shirt shorts combo. If not, all good. We appreciate the support regardless. But 2 minutes. If you want us to continue to chop it up with everybody, then we will. You just got to send in a super chat donation. If not, we'll sign off and maybe send this show on loop for those of you just joining the show here. So here's our super chat giveaway. $100 in total. It can, if somebody just solely sends in 100, we'll get this to you. But there you go. Walter Miller, received my shirt just this past Friday. All right, bro, take a picture of you in it, and then we'll get you featured here on 76ers Now. Mr. Awesome Guy saw a tweet for a tournament for the 4 worst teams so that they can get the number 1 pick.
I've been saying that that's what they should do. I don't think it would ever happen. That'd be pretty sick, right?
That would be fun.
4 worst records.
Yeah.
Whoever wins gets the pick.
I kind of like that because then there's something to play for.
I'm in.
I need this shirt so badly. Mitch Beats, dude, send us in $100 super chat and it's yours. That's it. And the shorts as well. So you get both for $100. Boom. And you get to support the show in the meantime as well. Let's see. Rolling dice. Miami has the best chance to get Dame. I agree. I mean, that's where he wants to go. I don't think that Miami has the best trade package, but they have the best opportunity to land him for sure. Winner of the in-season tournament wins a crumble cookie from Michael. That's good stuff right there. 10 seconds left to get a super chat in. 10 seconds left. We can mess around and do the loop, Coop. Screw it. Yeah, might as well. Michael Scotch, appreciate that. Levine seems a little bit more realistic, but we all want Dame. Slim, yeah, I think Levine is more realistic and the player that I'd rather have with what you'd be giving up. For instance, I'd rather have Maxey and Levine than just Dame and no Maxey. That's where I'm kind of coming from with that. All right, what we're going to do here in a few moments, for those of you just joining the show, we have a lot to discuss here. We're going to run it back here, and we're going to send the show on loop to recap everything that we discussed. Realistic free agent targets, realistic trade targets, Pascal Siakam trade, that and a whole lot more. We talked about so much. Blockbuster trade targets as well. All of that kind of coming your way on 76ers Now. Walter Miller, $10 super chat. Let's go. The real one chiming in. Walter, we appreciate that, Brody. Didn't even say anything. Just sent in the 10. You, my guy, our super chat MVP once again for today's show. So glad that you got your show because you define what a real one is all about. Got some swagger with that nice beard. You watch the show. You support the show. We do. Thank you so much. Oh! Albert Rice!
Albert, let's ride.
$50 super chat. Are we going to fuck around and get 100? Why isn't anyone saying anything about Bball Paul? Wow, that's a funny question.
Because he stinks?
Yeah, what do you think about Bball Paul?
He's not very good. He did have his career best year over in Orlando.
Played more than 70 games.
Played more than 70 games. Started
more than 30 starts.
So he started 32 games in a row and then just was out of the rotation from there.
Yeah.
It was a very weird year for Bball Paul. Waived by the Magic. People are trying to compare him to Wemby because he can handle a little bit. He is not Wemby.
No.
Don't get it twisted.
Come on now.
He's also very skinny, just like his dad, and he's just not good.
Wow. So how about that? Albert Rice with the 50.
I like it, though.
Here's the deal. Now we're 40 away from 100. Albert, if you send in another 40, then the T-shirt shorts combo is all yours if you want to show Albert what we're cooking with. And if you do send in a 40 and we get to 100, not only do you win that, but I will also shotgun a beer for you, Albert. And we'll get the party popping here on a Wednesday. So 40 more in supers from either Albert or anybody. If it's anybody, we have to do a raffle. If it's Albert, this is solely his. I'm making the rules. So we have to get to 100 in total, the bosses are telling me, to do this super chat giveaway. You get the shirt and the shorts both if we get to 100 in total. So Albert, if you send in a 40 to get us to 100, it's all yours. If somebody else sends in 40 to get us to 100, we will have a raffle between that person, Albert, and Walter Miller. Let's put up a 2-minute shot clock here.
Chris Mackey did not average 15 points a game. Sorry.
Bball Paul? Not even close.
It was like 9.
Yeah, it was 9 points per game, 70 games, 33 starts, 21 and a half minutes per. And he took, 1.5 3-pointers per night.
Maybe.
It's per 36, maybe. I know I can see that somewhere, right?
Yeah, it's on Basketball Reference if you're on his page.
Yeah. Let's see.
This is pretty funny. From Michael Scotch, Bball Paul's dad would shoot dice on his knees. He was too tall for the dice tables at Atlantic City.
That's hilarious.
He was 7'7".
He's Sixers legend.
R.I.P. Minute.
Sixers legend. All right, 2-minute shot clock is on. We need 40 more to get to 100. Then we'll do our Super Chat giveaway. If Albert sends in the 40 to get us to 100, we will send you this shirt and the shorts. If somebody else does send us in 40 within 1 more minute, then we're going to have a Super Chat raffle between Albert, Walter, and that person. Yeah, at this point, whatever. Chris Mack, not bad for a second. Michael Scotch, that's that Bball Paul comment. Yeah, Chris Mack, second round pick, yes, but he did not average 15 points per. Now, obviously, 21 and a half minutes per game per 36 might be closer to that.
People talk about Chet being skinny. Dude, Bull is a stick.
Yeah. Here we go. Per 36. Per 36, 15 points per game.
Albert Rice says, I believe he's a small forward. Except he's 7'2".
Kind of a wing. Yeah. 10 seconds left. 10 seconds left.
Is Wemby a big?
Wemby's a big.
I think so too, but that's kind of the comparison there.
Yeah. Wemby's a big. All right, we'll give you about a 20-second delay to see if we get another Super Chat in. If not, we're just going to cut the stream here. Thanks to everybody who tuned in today.
Appreciate you guys.
Absolutely awesome.
Walter!
Oh, there's 10 from Walter. Now we're up to 69. Very nice.
How much?
So now we're 30 away. It's 69.97, so pretty much 30 away. Chris Mack said, my fault. All good, Chris. We still love
chilling,
you, Brody. We still love you. All right, we're going to reset the shot clock here. Another opportunity for somebody here. Another opportunity here. Now we're only 30 away from 100 for our Super Chat giveaway today.
Walter Miller's beard is unbelievable.
It really is elite. It is one of the more elite beards that you will ever see. And one of our elite viewers under the entire Chat Sports umbrella. So we're 25 seconds in to our new 2-minute Super Chat shot clock here. Can we get there? 30 away from 100. If that happens, we're going to do a Super Chat giveaway here.
That's my main problem with Bball is all the internet people saying he's basically Wemby. Wemby's already in the NBA. It's Bball.
He's in that category with Kai Soto.
Oh, my God.
Internet legend.
Except he's a real NBA player.
Who everybody is clamoring to play for. Thanks for the compliment, fellas. Salute, brother. 30 away from 100. One more minute, and then a little bit of a delay because Walter Miller keeps coming in right at that delay point. Awesome stuff. In the meantime, if you have any questions, comments, let us know. Continue to give you shouts. King Kane, no point guards out there. Sixers are fine at point guard. They brought in Patrick Beverly. Martian Lynch, LOL, Kai Soto. Never thought I would hear his name on here. We talked about him last year in some of our draft profiles because the people asked us. He's actually playing Summer League for the Magic.
That's why they cut Bball?
Maybe. People are talking. King Chris, who's coming to the Sixers? We talked about some affordable free agent targets on today's show. All right, 10 seconds left, and then a little bit of a delay. 30 away from 100. We get there, and we'll do our Super Chat giveaway. Sixers shirt and shorts coming your way. $60 value on there. Say we run it back. Oh, Walter again!
He's doing it again.
He's doing it again! We're at 80 now. We're up to 80. Now we're 20 away. At this point, it's just a two-man race between Albert Rice and Walter Miller. 20 away.
King Kane.
King Kane. Miles Bridges is going to the Hornets. He's going to sign that offer sheet, right? Tomorrow, you would imagine?
Yeah, he'll sign that qualifying offer, yeah.
Oh, I got to reset the shot clock here. Resetting the clock. Up to 80. Things are getting interesting here. I like the last-minute suspense. Walter, I like that, man. So we have, what? So 50 from Albert and then 30 from Walter.
Correct.
So if Walter sends in 20, how about this, Walter? First person to send in 20 between Walter and Albert, do they win?
I think
then
so.
Then it would be pretty equal at that point.
What's up, Triz?
What's up, Triz?
How close are we?
20.
20 away.
Pretty thirsty, honestly.
Yeah, Trace is thirsty. Trace said he'll drink if we get to 100. 40 seconds in. Because if Walter sends in 20, he matches Albert's 50. And then we'll send you the shirt and the shorts. Let's do this too, Coop. Walter Miller and Albert Rice, Super Chat MVP graphic.
Got it.
Tyrone Walters, go Sixers. Yes, sir.
20
away from 100.
3, 4, 5, Sixers.
We did 4 segs and nobody had sent in a super chat. Then it's starting to get a little bit crazy here. And if we get to 100, I'm shotgunning that beer, by the way. Trace is going to come on. He's going to do a beer bong. So we're 20 away from that. I might not sign off until we get there. We're at 90 seconds. 30 seconds left. It's a battle between Albert Rice and Walter Miller here. Tyrone Walters, we appreciate you, my guy. King Chris said we're going to win it. Oh, man.
Would you cry?
I cried when the Eagles won the Super Bowl. But
I'd cry if the Mavs won.
Yeah. It's just like, it's one of those things when you have to overcome all the heartbreaks.
Oh, yeah.
It just means more. So
absolutely.
The Eagles at that point had made it in my lifetime.
The TO year, right?
To a combined 6 NFC championship games. 4 straight in which they only had 1 Super Bowl appearance. And then they made it again in 2009. That was a heartbreaker against the Cardinals. And then they finally won. And they dethroned Tom Brady and Bill Belichick. So that was awesome. If the Sixers win after all this time, that would be pretty legendary as well. All right, about a 20-second delay here. 20-second delay. 20 away from 100. We get to pick a Super Chat giveaway winner. I'm shotgunning a beer. Trace is doing a beer bong. Who's going to do it? 152 people watching live here. We have to get to 100, though. If not, then we're just going to sign off. Walter Miller, Albert Rice, as you can see below Coop and I, our Super Chat MVPs. Walter! He did it!
Let's go.
Walter's getting it. Let's go. Trizzy, let's go. Get me a beer as well.
Let's ride.
Walter, he said, give me that. So, Walter, you're going to get it. You beat the horn, brother. T-shirt, shorts combo coming your way. I'll message you on Instagram, Brody. Albert Rice, we appreciate you as well. Awesome ending to the show today, man. You got to love it. Walter and Albert. Super Chat MVP. Show him some love in the chat. Peter Thurmond.
He's coming in too?
He's coming in with the 10. It doesn't matter. Yeah, warm is ideal. Peter Thurmond with the 10. What's good, my guys? What's good, Peter? Couple of real ones in the house, man. Peter Thurmond started off as an original real one on Eagles Now. Walter Thurmond during our playoff watch parties against Boston became a real one because we had never done any live shows here on the show up until that point in the infancy of this program. And then Albert Rice, he's already a solidified legend here. So, all right, let's get it. Trizzy Trace is here.
I'll put you both full screen.
A preview of what Trace and I were up to last night as well.
No fireworks to the dome.
Yeah. No fireworks to the noggin.
What's up, Dina? Hope you're doing all right.
Blood was spread at Trace's house last night.
Hope the blood is all right, Dina.
Cheers. Cheers. Thanks, everybody.
That's built different.
Good shit.
Let's ride.
Aces.
Pocket aces. Trace and Chase.
Chase and Trizzy getting busy.
King Kane, Sixers trade for DeJounte Murray, trade Harden to the Clippers. 3-team deal. I'd like DeJounte Murray on this team. Him and Tyrese Maxey, because I think Maxey prefers to play off ball. Walter Miller. Only if the Sixers did the same thing, I wouldn't have needed therapy for the rest of the NBA season. Exactly, man. You kept telling me they're winning in 7, they're winning in 7, they're winning in 7. I was like, Walter, I hope you're right. Walter, I hope you're right. We were both wrong. I actually said they were cooked in Game 7, but you get the deal. Why don't they both get it? They both put in 50. Yeah, so we were going to do the raffle, and then I said, first person to get us to 100, we're going to change it up. Walter gets us to 100. They both sent in 50. So, all right, good stuff. Albert, Peter, Walter, all the real ones who tuned in, y'all are the best. Thanks for watching the show. Keep an eye out for more Sixers content here. 76ers now. Hit that subscribe button. I'm Chase Senior, going to continue to cover all of the moves that the Sixers do and don't make. News, rumors, analysis, that, and a whole lot more. And we'll catch you next time here on the show. For Coop, I'm Chase.